svantaggini per Nedved, Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, Del Piero! Di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Ciao tifosi bianconeri. Hello and welcome to episode 292 of the Turin Giants podcast. I'm Kevin, your host once again for this special midweek episode, and I'm joined by these three lovely gentlemen, our regulars Zach and Freddie, and returning for I think his third time as a special guest, Luigi, joining us from Luxembourg. Guys, how are you?
Yes, Kevin, it's the third time. That's always a pleasure to be here, Kevin.
And I think I've always been here when Luigi's here, and so it's always a good time to chat with Luigi.
It's my first time with Luigi, so I'm curious to see what happens, but I'm excited. So
strap in, Freddie. It's a wild ride. But no, I think
let's go.
I think what with Luigi's actually going to have a really cool thing that I hope you all enjoy, and so we're really excited to have him on today's episode.
Yeah, and as Zach says, we do have a special episode for you today, landing in between Juve's recent match against Genoa and the upcoming clash against Roma. In our Genoa post-match episode 291, which was fun. We had a packed house. We had 5 of us. Definitely go check it out if you haven't listened. Focusing on the first match of the Tudor era. We promised to get to some of the fan questions and comments that you left us on Instagram. Unfortunately, we kind of ran a bit long and didn't get to them. So we're going to start this episode focused on answering and responding to your comments. Thank you for providing those. And then, as Zach mentioned, we've got, I think, something really special and unique for the second half of this episode, and the main reason, why Luigi is joining us today. It's part history lesson, and I think part incredible fan story.
Yes.
So Luigi recently attended a Notts County match in the UK with the Italian Magpies. A Juve supporting fan group that follows Notts County. And if you know your Juve history, you know that there's a meaningful connection between these two clubs. So Luigi's trip actually got picked up by social media and even earned him an interview with the BBC. So we're really excited to share that for him to share that story with us. But before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Again, whether you're joining us for the first time or you're a longtime fan, we're thrilled to have you. Be sure to follow us on social, on X at Turin Giants and at Juve Podcast, on Instagram at Turin Giants, where we post a lot and share a lot of Juve news and content. We do our own custom reels, often kind of narrated by our main man, Zach, here with his silky smooth voice. And then you can also catch us on YouTube at Turin Giants Official. This episode is recorded with video, so you can watch it there too. And of course, we're on all major podcast streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google. A 5-star rating would mean the world to us. So yeah, let's dive into it, and we'll let Duzan kick it off.
Buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno.
So I think coincidentally, the first comment we have here is about Vlahovic. Reading, so I have to provide a caveat here. I apologize if I butcher your Instagram name, whether some of these are supposed to spell words or it's just a random collection of letters. But we have S Blad Legit 24. So again, sorry if I screwed that up. A comment: what an assist by Vlahovic. So definitely kind of remarking to Coop's throw in that hit Duzan in the back, leading to Yıldız's magic goal. Any reactions to that assist?
Yeah, no, he's showing his creativity, right? He's showed that he cannot score or contribute with his feet, either of them, or his head. So he's thinking creatively and outside of the box, and he went with his back, and that paid off wonderfully. So look to see more of that in the future, Dusan.
I personally hope to see his back more in the future when he goes out the door to another team. But that's just me.
We came spicy today, Freddie.
Did you guys realize it in real time that it came off of his back? I didn't catch it until the replay.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. That's kind of what it looked like. I mean, it looked like they kind of the two players collided. Dusan and the defender collided, and it just kind of popped out behind him. I didn't know if it was his back or his butt or something, but I don't even know if he saw it, right? It just kind of popped out perfectly in front of Yildiz, who obviously makes the wonderful play. But, my answer is kind of tongue in cheek. The fact is it doesn't matter whether it's your back, your feet, your head, whatever. It's, obviously not your arms, but as long as you're contributing in a positive way, we'll take it. And whether he knew about it or not, that's exactly what Yildiz needed for him to make that wonderful play and score the goal.
I mean, it's a goal, and I love the fact that he contributed to a goal, given the fact how much money he earns. But it's also a frustrating thing for me because every time Dusan gets into a duel, you know that it's going to be scrappy and untechnical and out of the box, or he's just going to lose the ball. And that's a bit of a worry to me because I think every coach nowadays has the perfect image of a striker that needs to correspond with that image. But I don't see Dusan fitting in any of those alleys particularly. Like, he's not your typical poacher. That was one of his main assets, but he kind of lost that because he needs 7 chances to score a half a goal. He's not strong with his head. He doesn't hold up the ball to get the midfield to rise up from the midfield and have some support. He's basically useless in this team at this point, I think. And as much as I loved seeing him come in from Fiorentina and really thought we had a gem on our hands, I think we need to come to grips with the fact that, yeah, we did wrong by buying him. And I don't know if it's our fault or his, but there's no match there anymore.
No, it's that last point. It's our fault. We bought him for 70 million. We gave him this gigundo contract. That's on the management who brought him in. Okay, Dusan, obviously he seems to try. Like, for me, I don't see a guy out there who's just phoning it in. I mean, him fighting for that ball is evidence of effort, right? We've seen several times this year where his effort has actually been really positive. So I don't think it's a lack of trying. I think that management overvalued him and overpaid him. That's on them.
But shouldn't it be more in shape? I mean, at this point in the season, don't you think that he kind of seems off balance? Like, if I look at YouTube clips from him playing with Fiorentina, excuse me, and him playing now, you see a different player. Like, he was more light on his feet at Fiorentina, more aware, if that's the thing I can use to describe it in this circumstances. He was more present, and I don't feel that. And to me, it also has to do with the fact that he just isn't in the proper shape at this point.
But you said it earlier. You said what'd you say under your breath for how much he's paid, right? I think when you contextualize everything that he's done and contributed with what we bought him for and what his salary is, I think that's what really ruins it, right? If we didn't overpay for him and if we didn't saddle ourselves with a giant contract, an untenable contract, then we might feel differently about the effort and the contributions because it didn't have this big elephant in the back of the Dusan conversation. So that's just, okay, we can probably leave it there without beating too much on the guy, but I think that's you can't talk about Dusan without his contract.
Well, just blame it on Cherubini and move on, right? I think Cherubini's the one who brought him in right after Paratici. Luigi, we've talked a lot about our frustration and kind of loss of faith in Dusan here. Just would love to get your kind of quick perspective on how you're feeling about him before we move to the next question.
I I think absolutely the same. To be honest, I'm, you know me, Kevin. I'm trying to be always positive with, and Dusan is of course one of the players I lost faith, and I'm not so kind with you since with him since months now, and to be honest, I don't want to be as right as Frederick to see he's back, but I think he has really a last chance now with Tudor, and he's way too expensive and earns way too much money to score to be always like 3 games I play well and then 2 months I don't score. It's it needs to be constant player like Trezeguet, somebody was always scoring, and he's not that. So and Juventus needs this kind of striker. This is my point of view. I think he's not. As you said, he was not playing like he was playing at Fiorentina. If if this shirt, if the Juventus shirt is too heavy for you, then maybe you should then let somebody else have the shirt.
So sticking with the lead up, so that question focused on the lead up to Yıldız's goal. We have another question from Robin Janssen related to it. Important win, but was it just me or was the goal celebration a bit off? McKennie looked uninterested. Loca was doing his own thing, and Coop tried to get others to join without much result. So it actually wasn't something I picked up on. I mean, does anybody have a comment? Was the goal celebration a bit odd?
So I'll just kind of preface this, is the feed in America didn't show too much, right? You could only see little snippets. What you saw was after the goal was scored, we'll just talk about McKennie and Locatelli. McKennie goes is running into the net, and after he kind of disentangles himself, he doesn't run to Locatelli, who's going off to the side over here, away from Yıldız, or he doesn't run to Yıldız. He sort of seems to be walking back. But you have maybe a second and a half, 2 seconds of that. So we don't know what he did afterwards. Locatelli went to celebrate with the fans. She ran up by the advertising boards and he was pumping his fist towards the people and the fans. I got no problem with that. He's excited, he's passionate. You want to share that with the fans. And Coop absolutely was motioning people to come. But beyond that, the American feed at least didn't give us any further context. They showed a bunch of replays and then bam, everyone's reset for the kickball. So I didn't really read too much into it, other than McKennie did seem, I don't know, not uninterested, but he didn't run to either Locatelli or Yıldız, which is, I guess you could read into that what you will.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's if there's anything to read into here or not.
Because Kevin, you were so kind to text us some of the questions. So when I read that question, I went back to have a look, and in hindsight, it looks as if there's not much tension being released at that point, because normally I think when you score a goal and in a tense situation, you get that. Yeah,
in our first one in 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, so in all fairness, the whole team should have been jumping, but and I talked with my contact within Juve a bit. There's still a kind of a fear in this team. There is a fear in this team that's been instilled by these performances and these results that we've been getting the last year almost. There's a fear of celebrating and making it all go to shit. So there's this constant amount of tension, which they don't seem to shake. A lack of self-awareness maybe, or a lack of importance that they can place. So the dressing room is a bit, I wouldn't say divided, because there's a good atmosphere amongst the players themselves, but you can feel that something just isn't right, like vibe-wise. And if you look back on it, you can't blame them, because if you look at the performances and the way that we obtained certain results, or the way that we played, the criticism that came out, not just from the fans, but the media as a whole, I mean, it's very logical to state that it had an impact on these guys. So let's see if we can do something this weekend to get that vibe out of the dressing room.
Absolutely, Frederick. I totally agree.
So speaking of, you referenced your contact at Juve. So there's a question kind of directed at you from Marco Valero. Again, apologies for any mispronunciation. Can Fred give us as much insight as possible into how Thiago Motta lost the locker room?
I went through my messages because it's kind of chronological, but I don't think you can sum it up into one event that made him lose the dressing room. It was a series of events that unfolded, and it wasn't just the results or the way that the team was playing, but I have to have a little cheat here. But it was basically the way that Thiago Motta handled the players. He didn't form a bond with them. He didn't took time to take them aside or talk to them or just have fun with them. There was never any fun. With Allegri, say about him what you will, but they had like these 3-point shootouts with basketball or foot volley or whatever, and that kind of broke the tension. It was never that with Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta was always just business, wasn't open to communication. Fun fact, one of the players with a meaningful role in the dressing room, I don't know who that is, went up to Thiago Motta in December and asked him some feedback about changing the game style. And Thiago Motta was listening, didn't interrupt him, just nodded. And after like a 15-minute conversation, or rather monologue from the player, Thiago Motta said, I think that's a very good idea. That's something you can implement once you get your trainer's degree at Coverciano. So, yeah. I mean, and then after the 2 losses in a row, Motta basically went into sort of an autism mode where he didn't want to hear or talk with anyone. And he was like, for those 2 weeks, someone that has lost touch with reality. He didn't even answer the phone for Giuntoli. Giuntoli tried to contact him in some evenings. He didn't answer. And then when Giuntoli held a meeting, sent a meeting request, he denied. They also wanted Chiellini to sit alongside the players with Thiago Motta. He denied that as well. And it was Chiellini who played a big role in the sacking of Thiago Motta, because at that point, when the meeting request was denied by Thiago Motta, Chiellini went straight to Giuntoli and asked for a sit down with Giuntoli, Alcon, and the whole board of management. And that was basically the end for Thiago Motta. And Chiellini also insisted to bring in Tudor, and alongside Alcon decided that it was best to wait for a fixed coach till after this season to just start afresh and with better view on the situation and the players that are going to stay or going to leave. So
the Chiellini connection, I bet, is new to a lot of people. That hasn't received quite as much press.
Chiellini, we are as normal fans unaware of this fact, because we always think that, oh look, there's Chiellini in the stands. He's just there as a sort of a figure, but he has a lot of pull within Juventus still. And the first couple of months, it was his first months on the job. So he laid low and he observed. But afterwards, he felt the need to react. And he did so. And I think I'm not a fan per se of Chiellini as a persona, because I still think of what he said, like, oh, we can't win every game. We're not Real Madrid. That was one of his quotes. I still kind of hold that a bit against him. But I think he's somebody who has that Juve DNA and who has the intelligence to mix the Juve DNA and his experience on and off the pitch and maybe make some good decisions Juve-wise. So I'm sorry about the A word, but it wasn't. It was just a reference to how we, Thiago Motta, how he reacted. Like, he was very scared. He was very pulled back. He was very introvert. Like, it was like,
I mean, he must have known. He
I
must have
don't
known
think
his I mean, you don't.
Or he
know
was
him
so
well.
self-absorbed that he.
Oh.
I think Thiago Motta, I think that he I don't think he knew that he was going to be fired, but I think he knew that he was underperforming. And those 2 losses in a row were a clear demonstration of that. And if it was up to Juntali, he would have kept him on till the end of the season, no matter what. And that's just facts. But I think he also felt that the players weren't behind him anymore. And it was a sinking ship. There was nothing that could have been done to remedy the situation other than giving him the boot. So in a way, I think you can feel it coming if you're not performing well in your job and you know that your superiors are not happy. On the other hand, if you lose the media, you lose your superiors and you lose the dressing room in a short amount of time, I think that does something to somebody, because you come from, being praised as the savior of Italian football to being loser of the month every month. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, I can imagine.
Well, when you're losing, I mean, the focus of the question on losing the locker room, like everything you just said, and then you combine that with rotating captaincy and not knowing like where that stands. You look at players who perform well, but then are randomly dropped, and there's no clue on what the best starting 11 is. You don't know where you stand within the squad. You have him coming out at the beginning of the season saying he has all this respect for Danilo and he's a great captain, and then a couple months later trying to ship him out. Like it's not knowing where you stand with the coach and that role within in the team has such an impact as well.
I have
I have
another quick story. I'm sorry, but before I forget, there was apparently a player's birthday, not specified when or who. And the thing that they do is basically they sing if somebody, and at afternoon tea or whatever, when they have their little
We've seen the
espressos,
videos.
they bring out a cake and whatnot, and it was a fun atmosphere. And all of a sudden afterwards, the coach came in, but the coach, Thiago Motta at that time, was smiling and clapping along. And afterwards, when everybody was done, he was like, okay, I hope you guys can focus now, because this is childish. I don't want any part of that. If you put in as much of an effort on the pitch as you did here, then we'd be in a whole other situation. A bit childish. I mean, it's somebody's birthday. You just play football. Let them have a bit of fun, especially in their downtime. Give them
That's a bummer.
give them hell on the pitch when they're underperforming there. I'd like to see you be agitated there and trying to spur them on there, instead of bashing somebody who had a birthday and blowing out some candles after practice, for fuck's sake. I mean, but yeah, that's another anecdote.
But it's clear for me what I've never seen when a coach is leaving a team, nobody sending messages on social media today. It's the first time. I think there was Bangura and Bremer,
Yeah,
the
that was
only
it.
two.
Yeah.
So this speaks a lot, I think.
So next question, M Calabrese 97. If Tudor gets top 4 and has the opportunity to do well at the Club World Cup, do you keep Tudor or go for Conte? So one word answer from each of you. Who would you, assuming Conte is available and is a valid option, Tudor or Conte? Zach,
Tudor.
Freddie,
Tudor.
Luigi.
Tudor, absolutely.
I'll round that out 4 for 4 as well. And I'm sure there will be plenty of time for that conversation as the rest of the season progresses and as we get into the summer. All right. So Domenica Dilema says, hey, I want you guys to know you're all amazing, enjoying all the pod. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
I think we need to discuss that. We need to discuss that.
Then we have the notorious Biaggi. Should we have given Pirlo more of a chance as Mr.? Zach, I know you kind of prepared a response here, and that has a couple layers to it. So why don't we give you the floor?
I didn't really prepare a response, but I have feelings about this one.
Okay, fair
and so in this kind of, probably going to offend some people here, but it runs into, on one side, the conflict that maybe Freddie talked about. On one side, you have this Juventus, we have to win everything. And the other side, you have the players that you have, right? You can't make magic happen when you don't have magic players. And when Allegri left, I mean, we know how Allegri plays football, and we brought in Sarri. Very little changes to the squad, right? You brought in Ramsey and Rabiot and De Ligt. And otherwise, you had the same squad under Allegri. You'd played under Allegri for years, who were just right at the edge of being washed. And you say, okay, sorry, you got to win everything because Ronaldo's on the team. We won Serie A, albeit in a weak year, by 1 point. Okay, but he got sacked because he lost in the Champions League to Lyon, right? I mean, you have a starting midfield though of Pjanic, Betancourt, Matuidi, with a little bit of Rabiot mixed in there.
All the same 4 profiles. They're all the same player.
Pretty much, or at least 3 of the same 4 players. Maybe Pjanic being the exception because of how Sarri wanted to use him. But you have Sarri who's so intense about his midfield. You don't give him anybody for that. You just have these aging guys who, let's be honest, Pjanic and Matuidi. I love both of them, but they were on the edge of washed at that point. And in fact, we shipped both of them out of the door at the end of that season. You say, and this is what Agnelli said, we're firing Sarri because he didn't win the Champions League with Ronaldo. This team with Bonucci, Cuadrado, Alexandro, Pjanic, Matuidi, Higuain, all at the very end of their, I mean, maybe not in age-wise, but in talent-wise, at the end of their career. That's just, in that case, bringing in nobody for Sarri, you set him up to fail. So you fire him and then you bring in Pirlo. Okay? A guy who, 2 months prior, we said was going to coach the under-23s team, who has absolutely no senior coaching experience whatsoever. Now, you give him a team that has less Pjanic plus Artur, right? And he has to start his midfield. It was Betancourt, Rabiot, Danilo. And I don't know if you all remember that, but Danilo played midfield more so than any other position that year. And they said, you got to win. Now, Pirlo won both Copas. He had more goals for, less goals against, and was 5 points less in a much stronger Serie A, obviously not winning the league. But he was fired because he didn't win the league when the team was worse. And so on one hand, you have expectations. You got to win everything. But we did not have the team. Ronaldo or no Ronaldo, we did not have the team. We had a poor midfield for both of those years. You had young talents like Christian Romero. You had Kulusevski. You had Chiesa, who was brought in for the Pirlo year.
McKennie was brought in.
McKennie was brought in. It wasn't. You were in the middle of a transition, and Agnelli said that's not acceptable. But the squad that we have was not capable of doing any better. And certainly in Pirlo's year. Now, were things weird at times with Pirlo? Yes. He had struggled sometimes, some of his decision-making, his coaching. He clearly was a coach that was still learning. But you can't have your cake and eat it too in this situation. You can't say you got to win everything and give the coach, a new coach, a coach that you knew as an experience, a squad that could not meet the expectations that you gave him. So I think either with Sarri or Pirlo, the management should have committed to something as opposed to seeing strides of progress under both managers and then axing them because they didn't meet unrealistic expectations. We saw the exact same thing happen and continue when Allegri was brought in, only to postpone any rebuilding to keep status quo, and then again this year with the Mota disaster. So the issues, starting with Sarri, of this management seemingly not being able to marry expectations versus the squad that they've put together, drives me absolutely cuckoo nuts, which is why I kind of had feelings about it, not necessarily a prepared response. But I would have liked to go to the question at hand, them give Pirlo or Sarri more time. If that's what you went in knowing Pirlo was going to be, give him the time, help him build the squad, let him learn, and then see where he can take us.
I think that's a pretty good answer. Freddie, go ahead.
A bit of hindsight in that. It was a bit of a power struggle internally as well, because when Sarri was brought in, it was to the vast dislikings of Agnelli himself. It was Paratici and Nedved who lobbied for Sarri for a long time, and Agnelli caved. So they went in with Sarri, and you know full well that if you have a president and you have management, you always know that if something goes wrong, the president will take the upper hand and make decisions that are maybe not the best. And that was what he did in the case of Sarri. He used them as a scapegoat. He said, look, you get your shot because of others, but you have to make your shot. It was unobtainable. You couldn't win the Champions League with that team. So he had his excuse prepared, Agnelli, to fire Sarri. But what he did next, yeah, that was with the whole Pirlo situation was, to me, even worse, because he thought that he could repeat the same Conte winning formula. Let's get somebody in who's ex-Juventus, who knows the club, who was a decent player, who gets the respect, but that's just not enough. Ideally, you could have merged Sarri and Pirlo and you have a hell of a coach, because Sarri is very strong tactically and with his physicality or with his team in preparation. And Pirlo is somebody who just demands respect when he just walks into a room and knows Juventus through thick and thin. So that was a good hybrid combination, but those two separately, I don't think they were it, to be honest. And that's the fault we keep making. Because you could argue that Sarri didn't have any transfers incoming, neither did Allegri last year. So they had to make do with what they had. But now you shift that whole mentality and you throw a bunch of money around with your new coach, but you eventually get the same result, if not worse. So I think we
And then
need
with
somebody.
Malta, we bring in the coach, we give him the players he wants, and we end up in this position.
Exactly.
Well, not to rehash my imbalanced squad thing on Mota, but if you go back to Pirlo, you're like, okay, Pirlo, win the Champions League. You have no experience as a coach. Okay. You have a starting defense of ancient Alexandro, Quadrado, Chiellini, and De Ligt. You have a starting midfield.
Like half the season.
You have a starting midfield of Bentancur, Rabiot, Danilo with a little McKennie mixed in. You have Dybala, who under Sarri was Serie A Player of the Year, who missed almost the entire campaign. And so you plug in this super expensive Murata loan to go with Ronaldo and a recently bought Chiesa. It just was the strangest squad. It was in flux. Yeah. And saying that you had to reach these certain goals with the squad at hand was just absurd. And so the Mota situation's a little bit different because of the money being spent. The only money that was really spent on Pirlo and Sarri were on these stupid transfers, player exchanges. Pjanic versus Artur and Cancelo for Danilo. It was the same team. It was born out of Allegri ball. And without changing a squad that's just used to playing a certain way, we saw how conflicted it seemed at times in Sarri's reign, and you saw the same level of disconnect, or I attribute it all to flux, right? You're still transitioning the squad over in Sarri or in Pirlo's time that you were never able to see develop, because you immediately go back to Allegri, who goes back to negative ball. There's just no progress there, and that's what drives me nuts. And part of the reason why I'm really concerned, or at least hesitant to be excited for Agnelli to come back, is all of this was under his watch, and it was so clearly a bad idea at the time. And in retrospect, it's only been made more clear.
He is well aware of the faults, though, if I may believe my people within the whole club, or within Agnelli, or in Agnelli's presence. He's very aware of his faults and the things that he did wrong. And a literal, or I don't know if it's a literal quote, but he said, if I could turn back time and do things differently, I would. But, none of us have this talent. So the only thing that's left for me to do is remedy my mistakes.
Speaking of some potential mistakes, we have a question here. Can you comment on Kelly's impact in Vega's defending? So this is our second to last question. Both of these final two questions coming from Eternal SUS or SUS. Thank you for your submission. But again, can you comment on Kelly's impact in Vega's defending? I think Vega actually has impressed, and I think has kind of won over fans with kind of his energy and passion. Kelly has certainly been a question mark, hence kind of how I qualified the question. But who wants to start with this one?
Just real quick. I'll try to be quick in the interest of time. I want to get to Luigi. Vega's been really impressive, not only with his defending and physicality, but also his passing. His long passing is really good, and his level of energy, I think, just makes you as a fan excited to see him play. Kelly is very raw, and you've seen upside. He's at times been really good passing and has been really good in defensive, while other times he's looked like a complete fool and fish out of water on the pitch. And so he will require time, and any future Juventus, or at least in the near future Juventus, with him in the starting lineup, unfortunately, is not going to be the best starting 11 that we can put out there.
I saw a few good things also in Kelly, to be honest. So I think he's okay. He's better than what we say. He does some mistakes, unfortunately. That's something he needs to fix. But the way he plays, I saw him playing in Eindhoven live, and I liked the way he moves and he plays. But now we have to see and stop some mistakes, I guess.
I think he has some potential, and the fact it's a shame that our defenders don't have the same. How should I put this? They don't have that ability to enjoy having players like Barzagli and Chiellini next to him in order to learn. As a matter of fact, they have no leader figure in the team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we were a solid team with some, like the old guard, like Chiellini, Buffon.
I mean, even Bremer, if he was healthy, right?
Bremer.
Bremer, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he would learn so much, and it's not just a football thing. I mean, we have to take things into perspective, because we usually get guys from within Italy, or players from within Italy who know the culture, who know the language. Like Kelly was just dropped mid-season out of rainy Newcastle, with no knowledge about the culture or the football mentality, or even the mentality of Juventus itself, which is hard to find nowadays, even at La Continassa. So he wasn't brought in under the best of situations, and I'm willing to give him another chance, because you can see a glimpse of a good player there. And
Absolutely.
No, he needs time. He's not like Vega. Vega came ready to
No.
play. Lloyd Kelly needs time to refine himself. And unfortunately, with our defensive injuries, with Gotti out again, he doesn't have that time. He has to be able to produce now. And that's unfortunately put him in the situations where he's made some costly errors.
I think Vega also came with a point to prove. Chelsea basically ditched him, saying, well, you're number, I don't know, what is it, 516 within the squad, so there's no room for you. If you transfer yourself, or as a loanee, you come with a point to prove. And given the fact that, he put so much passion, because that's his playing style. You could see it even in Germany and in Portugal when he was playing. That's just his mentality. But now it looks like he embraced the whole Juventus mentality of old, posting.
We don't even have an
pictures
option for him. I just that's why I called, jokingly, I played on your comment about mistakes.
You can wipe your tears away, though. He said to his manager, he's given the official order to his manager that he wants to renew with Juventus, no matter what. If he has to,
that would be pretty nice. I would find it frustrating that we're obviously short in defense, and if we're going to invest in loan options, let's at least give ourselves a path to retain them if they prove themselves. And this dry loan, it just.
It all depends on the coach of Chelsea.
With forced turnover almost, but if you're able to pull it off, then
it all depends on Chelsea's next coach. To be honest, we don't know if this season's coach will be the next. So
after Maresca's squad just lost 3-0 to the U19 team or something, whatever it was in the news recently.
I'm hearing all sorts of things. I'm hearing Fabregas going to Chelsea, the coach there, which to me seems like a big leap coming from Arsenal and then coaching Chelsea. I don't know. It could happen, but I know he wants to stay. He was even looking for a home to purchase. So he isn't somebody that wants to leave in a hurry. So let's see what we can do.
All right, so let's move to our final question, and this is a good one to end on before we transition to Luigi's segment. So leading up to our match against Roma this weekend, again, this question comes from Eternal Sus, S-U-S. Again, I apologize for the name. Also, where we
That's
could have created more eternal sauce. There you go. There it is. Also, excuse me, where we could have created more goal opportunities. So I think just like we played a decent game, didn't create a lot of goal scoring opportunities, especially with Roma coming up. Roma will certainly be a bit more aggressive than Genoa, and we can't just afford to score one and sit back. So it's more of a comment than a question, but let me turn it into a question, and we'll get one answer here before we move on. What needs to be different in the next match? Like what's one thing we need to do differently?
I think we need to get more out of the Coop position. I think we were playing with Coop and we were playing Dusan in attack, which meant that we were men down. Yıldız's movement and actually Farhad asked a question, so I'll kind of rope in his question, which pertained to Yıldız.
That's right. Thank you. That's right.
He wanted to know whether what we saw over the weekend is the best use of Yıldız moving forward, and I think it is. You saw Yıldız play all over the pitch, dropping deep, going out wide, playing in the middle. It's exactly what we needed. I thought we saw really good play from our wingbacks, who are key to a Tudor attack, in Nico Gonzalez especially, as well as McKennie at times. But then you had Koop Miners and Vlahovic, who were largely just warm bodies out there. And I think if you had Kolomwani in all those beautiful balls in the channel in that first half, we wouldn't have lost every single one of them like we did. If you had anybody else in the Coop position who can play a quick short pass, we would have sustained better possession as well as been able to create better chances in attack. And so I'm hoping after the confidence boost game that Tudor gave Vlahovic, I thought that hopefully that's evidence enough that we go back to Kolomwani and that you get somebody who's better on the ball than Coop up in that forward position, and then you'll see more chances, because the team showed a lack of hesitancy in and around the box that they did under Mota. There's definitely seemed to be an intent to go towards the goal, but when you lose the ball and or have to go negative because of the play of some of those players, you're given little option.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also the fact, I don't know if I told this on the pod already, but Koop Miners has a special training program as of now, to get back into shape, and part of that program will probably mean that he won't be playing against Roma, or at least not in the starting lineup. So I think Tudor's eyes have been opened, because it's a different question. You train a squad for 3 training sessions. You have to see them as a whole, as a team perform under certain circumstances. And I think what he saw there opened his eyes, and he was directly after the game, he called his staff and Giuntoli and said, look, it's obvious that this guy is very, very, very out of shape, and the balls that are still hitting the slope of the Alps can back me up on that.
That magical shot.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see him playing, but I think that was our Achilles heel, like Zach said, because you need that constant flow through midfield in order to get your strikers in a good position. And if you have a Koop Miners there who is basically fallen asleep and takes half an hour for him to turn around or get off his man marking, then you lose like 30%, maybe even more about of your potential attacking skills. So, and if you then see Vlahovic perform the way he did, I mean, we were playing with 9 against 11. That's just a fact. We were playing with 9 against 11. If we can even those odds out against Roma and have players instead of Koop and Vlahovic, then we stand a decent chance, I think.
Yeah, and Zach, thanks for roping in our Il Nostro Capitano Farhad's question there about asking where Yıldız is best suited to help us make top 4. So thanks for merging that in, and Farhad, we look forward to you returning as host. So thank you again, everyone, for your questions and comments. A definitely nice kind of change of pace as opposed to just kind of going through match recap and offering analysis and perspective. So that was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing another one in the future. So let's pivot a bit here. So again, Luigi, we, as mentioned at the top of the episode, really excited to learn kind of a bit more about your experience with the Italian Magpies. But before you dive into your experience, for those who are unaware of the connection between Juventus and Notts County, can you help educate us a bit?
Yeah, it's part of everything that I wanted to say. I mean, the connection between Notts County and Juventus is clear. It's the shirt, so the colors, the black and white colors, that come from Notts County. So basically, it's a long story. I could say so much about it. And we're even going further lately with some of our friends in Nottingham. I'm working on with them to know why Notts County has the black and white colors. So there's a history on that. So try to understand where the Juventus colors come from, so after Notts County. This is something we are working now. So basically it was in 1901, because for a long time there was a mistake. A lot of people thought it was in 1903 that Juventus changed to black and white, from pink to black and white. But it was actually by looking and searching for some friends in Nottingham, they found out that it was in 1901. So and for a long time we thought it was John Savage, but the name was Tom Gordon Savage, so not John, because the handwriting was like looking like a John and it was a Tom. So it was a player who came from Notts County, from Nottingham. He was a Notts County player, and he came to work in Torino. And he was one of these pioneers of football who brought football actually in Italy. So one of his best friends, to mention it, who was also from Nottingham, was Kilpin, and Kilpin is was the founder of Milan. And they were friends. They played together, and the first squad where he played in Torino was Internazionale Torino. So that was just before Juventus. He went to play for Juventus. There were several clubs in Torino at that time that don't exist now anymore. Juventus was founded in 1897. But there were some other clubs at that time that, strangely enough, one of them was called Internazionale Torino. So it's a very strange story. But so the Juventus wanted to change the colors. They had these pink shirts that they didn't look very professional. They were faded, they were broken, so they had no money. And basically, Tom ordered that, because the really real football shirts at that time were only made in England. So you had no factories producing real football shirts. So you had 3 in Nottingham, and even there, some of the found out which one made Juventus shirt. So it's not far from the stadium of Notts County. And they wanted, all the Juventus players expected the Nottingham Forest shirts, the red ones, because they thought it was professional and aggressive. And actually the black and white arrived. So a lot of players were not happy when they saw the black and white stripes, and they didn't want to play with the black and white stripes. But they started playing with that, and then started winning, and that's how they kept it since 1901. So this is basically the story of Tom Savage, who sent the shirt of his club, where he was a supporter of that club, to Torino, without telling to all his co-players that they would get these black and white shirts. So then Juventus played with their shirts. You have to know that actually Notts County changed to black and white not so long before, because Notts County had other colors before. Notts County was one of the founders of the FA Cup, because the football in England started with FA Cup. This was the first trophy they had. There was no Premier League, anything. So, and Notts County was playing at one point. They even changed to the Aston Villa colors. So that's why there were too many clubs having the same colors. So that's why they decided to change. And at that moment, when they changed in 1890, the president of Notts County was a duke called Duke of Portland. And he had very famous horse racing teams. They were winning all the very important derbies, in the horse racing, and they were black and white. because his grandfather basically, when he created the Duke of Portland racing team, took the colors of his family. It's a very noble and famous family in England. They come from from the kings, so, and that's why the colors are black and white, because they have chosen the colors of their family. The black and white is really in their shields, that they have. And basically that's how they came from horse racing to Notts County to then Juventus in 1901. And what I liked is that I was already a Notts County fan before this friendly game came. When Juventus made at the Allianz Stadium, they invited Notts County. That was crazy, because they could have invited anybody, Real Madrid, Barcelona, anybody could have come to the inauguration of the Allianz Stadium, and they invited Notts County. And that's where the Italian Magpies, we were so happy, because we were all supporters of Notts County because of the colors and because of the origin of the colors that came to Juve. And when we heard that, it was just amazing that Notts County were coming. And you have to imagine all our friends that we have in Nottingham, when they told us we are going to Torino, it was crazy for them. You have to, Notts County, small club invited by small, low tier club invited to Torino, to Juventus, to a game that is watched all over the world, where they inaugurate the new stadium, was just absolutely crazy story. And that's when really Italian Magpies started, and when the friendship started, and when we started our trips, basically, because then we started to go to Nottingham once per year, as much as we could, and they came to Torino, and all the time fans from Notts County come to Torino and watch Juve all the year. And Kevin, you might, when I was driving them around into restaurants and to the stadium and back, and it's a very good and nice friendship that started basically now 13 years ago, and now we are so close now, so close friends, and it's a must for us to go to Nottingham to a game, at least one per year. I went to 2 games the past month, so but because I went also to Wimbledon to watch Wimbledon Notts County 2 weeks before I went to Nottingham. So it's just you have to imagine the weekend. We meet the players, we give the player award. We have our player award, yearly player award that we give from the Italian Magpies, and we can meet the players, we meet the owners, we meet the coach, we meet the CEO, we meet BBC interviewed me. So it's something very nice every time, and it's a good club. It's a really good club, and there are like 10 to 15,000 people per game. So for a 4-tier club, they won a playoff final 2 years ago. You have to imagine, there were like 55,000 people at the Wembley Stadium, 25,000 from Nottingham. So crazy. I mean, I speak, but if you have questions, so you tell me.
Well, so I mean, thank you. I mean, what a rich history. I certainly learned a lot myself. But this most recent match that you went to, right?
Yes.
That was kind of picked up by local news. Like, you were featured, and I saw you on a couple social media pages. Like, talk through that. Like, what was that like? How did they pick it up? Was it planned? Was it coincidental?
Wait.
No,
Luigi.
Yes.
It just you probably don't know this, but in our Turin Giants text, we're texting pictures of you to Kevin. We're like, Kevin, is this Luigi? Is this Luigi?
Other people saw you on these pages that we happen to
you're famous,
follow
and
accounts.
So Kevin's like, yes, and so we were always really excited and happy to see you.
So you have to imagine, guys, this is a really nice story about friendship, and we have really good friends. And when I spoke about it also, to be honest, with Maurizio knows about it. Our friend Maurizio, Kevin, that we have. I spoke about this a lot with Agresti, with Colpogobbo. They all will probably, I mean, at least they promised that they will come in future also with us. They love it. It's a very it's a very good story about, you know, a friendship coming from you gave us the colors, you know, more than 100 years ago, and they love it, and they know that when we go there, it's 3 days, 2 nights, 3 days usually. They know that they will have fun for 48 hours. So it's just and it's incredible how much we support this team now. We are just crazy. I know that they are playing now since 13 minutes. I'm already stressed to not know what they're doing because it's a very important game tonight. um, so there will be people coming, and even Copa came with us. You know, Copa 90, they have 1.3 million followers, and they came very nice guys, and they made fantastic pictures and videos, and they loved it, and they probably will come back. We and there's some others that will come the next year. So BBC guy, I know him because I see him every year. Every year we give him the MVP. So I see him and I speak to him every year. And this year asked me if I wanted to be interviewed. And I said, of course. What was really fun is that now I have a lot of friends in Nottingham, and they were like in the traffic driving home from the from the game, and they were texting me, you know, like, "Yeah, Luigi, I heard your voice on BBC." I said, "What? I was live?" So it was really good this year. It's good every year. This year was even better than the other years, to be honest. So
It's still 0-0, by the way. So
thank you.
you're
We have to
welcome.
win. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So no, it's a good story. It's really friendship, and now we saw really like we know their kids and of this, and we grew together. When we see the first pictures when we went 13 years ago, we were it's crazy how much we lived and how much we had, how many memories and we have there, and it's something just amazing. Nottingham is a fantastic city. I love to go there every year, and I can't wait to go back. So it's good story.
Luigi, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
didn't 100 and something years later Juventus kind of repay the jersey loan, so to speak, where in, I think, 2019, 2020, Notts County was in some pretty tough financial shape,
Yeah.
pretty far down in the English pyramid, and we bought their jerseys to, you know, to help supplement their financial situation, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, there was something, but now, to be honest, I'm not quite sure. I heard that a couple of years ago somebody was speaking about this story, yes. But now, to be honest, I don't have the details. But there is something, yes. There is something about this story. Yeah, absolutely. I will come back to you about that, Zach. Let me go just ask to my friends in Nottingham, and I will come back to you. The thing is we actually found where the factory was of the shirts that of Juventus, where they were made, and nobody actually knows who paid for the first shirts. This is something we didn't find out yet. So this is all the historians in Nottingham looking for when the first kit arrived. We don't know who paid for it. That's so. But we don't know if it was Tom Savage or if everybody paid a part of it, or if you went to the club. We don't know. This is something that is missing. But the thing is, we know now where it came from, and now there's a brewery and a pub at that place. So there's a beer to drink there. So where you
Of
went to.
course there is.
Yes.
It's UK. I mean,
Yeah. So
you gotta bring some Juventus jerseys over there so they can put it up on the wall.
they
Make it official.
have so many. Yeah, they have so many. You have to imagine that they know that we are coming. You know, so we are. I don't know. They know who we are, Italian Magpies, and when we go there, we have our flags put up, and people come and make pictures. We're like stars when we go there. We make like 500 pictures in 2 days. So with everybody wants to make pictures with us, and it's so good and it's so nice, you know, to have this friendship. And there are Juve shirts everywhere, and friends of us, they put the Juventus shirt together the day we come, so that there was a very nice picture of a friend of ours that he had the Pirlo shirt the day we came 2 weeks ago. So it's just a very good thing, guys, and I hope one day you will come with us, and you can see what it means to have this friendship with these two clubs.
So Luigi, I'm going to try and do something here, and I apologize to the listeners and those watching if this doesn't work, but I recorded kind of a quick video of where you were shown on Instagram, and I want to see if I can share this file. And if it doesn't work, we'll just kind of talk through it. Should have tested this beforehand. There we go. So this is featured by, I think if you go on Instagram to Copa90.
Yes, there you can see me a bit.
Even look at the
so
Italian Magpies or Notts County. Any one of those Instagram hands. Again, Copa90, Italian Magpies, Notts County. You'll see this great slideshow, and maybe I can start it again. It doesn't want to show it again. I'll do it one more time here. But for those of you who are just listening to the audio file, some really great. I don't actually know how to remove this now from the gallery here. There we go. But some really cool still images of actually Luigi kind of featured, whether intentionally or unintentionally, as a fan in the stadium, and his kind of reactions to the match, and with a lot of the fans there holding a Juve scarf. Very cool.
I was quite angry with the referee that day. There are some pictures that they didn't put. They only showed to us. It's good that they didn't go. No, they were very nice guys. These Coppa guys, really very professional and very nice. And Notts County gave them all the credits, that they could go on the pitch and take the pictures and from the pitch, and everything very professional. So, but it was very fun. So the referee, I was not happy with him. But too bad they didn't score. They nearly scored. So 0-0, but it's okay. Usually they win when we go. We saw them lose only once, so it's okay in 13 years. So that's fine.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Juventus has this sort of partnership, brotherhood with a lot of clubs that are basically most lower tier clubs, like The Hague. ADO Den Haag is one of them.
That's the fans.
Yeah,
ADO Den Haag, and then Lega Warsaw. Yeah, I see them all the time in the Curva. That's more the Curva. That's
But it's nice to see, because I went to a ADO Den Haag game, and I spoke with a couple of people in management, and they have like a good relationship with Juventus management as well. Because I think ADO Den Haag, they renewed their pitch, and they were given a lot of help by Juventus, who have their, I don't know how to put it. Is it a company that, does the pitch or creates the new one or whatever, or maintains that, or whatever you need to do to get that pitch in impeccable shape? And they basically help them get in touch and help them get a huge discount as well, because Juventus, their pitch options are nearly full option, whereas ADO Den Haag has a smaller budget. So they helped out, and it was good to hear that, it basically transcends just the Curva thing or the thing just... it's something that works both ways, and I think it's kind of humbling to have these bonds with some of the lesser teams, to be honest, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way.
No, and it's good now. Okay, of course, now our dream is now Notts County went to Torino. Our dream is to have Juventus in a friendly game in Nottingham one day, and we are working on it. But this is something difficult. I mean, there are the connection between the clubs, of course, between the management, and but I cannot say more. But of course, this is the dream, to have Juventus one day in Nottingham, and that would be fantastic, absolutely. And but we will see. We will see. Now for now we are following this season, and maybe if they go to Wembley, we will go, of course, all to Wembley end of May. I hope they will go up without going through the playoffs. This is why it's important today to win. But if we go to Wembley, we go to Wembley. That's not a bad thing.
Well, I think we'll all be supporting that path for them, and I think if our fans and audience is looking for another club to support, I think Luigi gave you an answer, right? And go follow Notts County, and you'll keep that Juve connection going. So Luigi, thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, first the history lesson, but also such a really cool experience. And again, I encourage our listeners to go check out Copa 90 or Italian Magpies on Instagram, and you can read more about this and see some of those images. Luigi, I look forward to seeing you in 2 weekends. So we'll both be in Turin for the Juve Lecce match. So it'll be great. We'll bring you some content from that game, and just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I can't wait. I'm so happy. I thought I would go more often to Turin, I told you, but it's not so easy. So, but
I have a season ticket, and it'll be my second game.
Me too. My second for me too. Yeah.
I drastically overestimated how many trips I'd be making from Boston to Turin this year.
You have contributed to Vlahovic's salary in a way unprecedented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every pizza he gets in the weekend after a horrible game is basically paid by you, Kev. So we appreciate it.
Doing what I can, the amount of money I spend with this club. Well, on that note, thank you to the three of you, Zach and Fred. Pleasure as always. And Luigi, we love having you on.
Absolutely.
Perhaps we'll try and find after the Lecce match. We'll have to get you on, and we can talk about our experience. I think that'll be.
I have one scoop that just came in. I don't know if I'm allowed to. It's not a huge thing, but basically, you remember we had those particular shirts when Adidas did a collaboration with Juventus and Palace. We have another one coming along the way. Another one with Palace, Adidas, Juventus, and another company. So a four-way, if I may call it. But it's gonna be something special, I think. I don't know what's the occasion for it. Maybe it's just marketing or whatever. But it will be a limited one. Once again, limited to 1,897 pieces worldwide. So
come on, wow. you know it's exclusively marketing. Just another way to sell some kits.
And we will buy
them.
I might have a share in these companies. I might not. Who knows? But now we have to pay Dusan's wages. So let's go. Every marketing possibility.
Everyone go buy that shirt. All right. Well, thanks again, gentlemen. A pleasure as always. Just again, if you've reached the end of this episode, a 5-star rating or a like and subscribe would mean the world to us. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve.
Yeah, siamo finiti in B, gli unici a pagare per calciopoli. Yeah, e qui non ci piove, che nel cuore gli scudetti sono 29. Mollo tutto e tutti solo per seguirti. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Un solo grido dalla curva si alzerà. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Per 29 volte campioni d'Italia, per niente e nulla al mondo abbandonerò sta squadra. Tra tutte quante di fissa più stile, storia di un amore senza una fine.